Cool. So let's kick off with like some stuff, some updates from timeOS, and then we can start the actual webinar. So welcome everyone, and some folks will join, but they will do it silently. Um, so this is kind of our first timeOS live, our first webinar. Next time we'll promote it well ahead, but of course the recording will be available. So this time we're going to speak about the powerful connection between timeOS and Notion. Iwidumi is one of the most I see, team as an amazing Notion expert and consultant, certified consultant of Notion. So team helped uh, building Notion, databases and workspaces for like lots of companies, and is of course using timeOS. I'll just go over the agenda for today. So we're going to talk a bit about how team uses timeOS and kind of his favorite part of timeOS. And then we're going to dive into our kind of main dish, which is building a shared brain, sorry, with timeOS and Notion. So this concept of a very customized database and connected it to this powerful brain of timeOS and the effortless capturing that we have. Then we're going to speak about unblocking thought capture using AI. So anytime you have a random thought or you are in a in-person meeting or even a meeting with your doctor, what you can do, how can you capture these moments so you can afterwards process it using AI and organize it in your own knowledge management systems. So this one I will cover as well. And probably some questions around timeOS Assistant, the AI assistant versus the new Notions Q&A feature. This is something very new, and we're excited about it because it allows you to search across your entire meeting hub and ask anything you want. So we're going to have like a quick demonstration and some questions from you guys. So anytime you have a question, feel free to write it in either the chat or the Q&A. I will monitor the questions and I will let him know if there's a question, and we can answer it throughout the presentation and the webinar, but also at the end, we'll have some time for specific questions that you have. So this is kind of the agenda for today. Team, anything to add on the agenda?
No, looking forward. Looking forward.
Great. And I want to give you some updates about new stuff that we're working on to give you a glimpse of our roadmap and the stuff that are coming very soon. And starting with custom summaries, this is a top requested feature, something that I'm personally most excited about. The ability to tweak the default summary and to change, for example, to get summaries that are more short or by topic instead of chronological. Action items, if you want to see only your action items, is something that this week you can change and tweak. And also getting a new kind of powerhouse of AI prompts that you can integrate inside your summaries. So you see some examples here that we kind of prepared, but we're going to open it up to our community on Slack and to get some suggestions from our community to different AI prompts. Which kind of leads me to the next feature, which is custom AI blocks. Now everyone can influence the summary. You can create your own prompts, your own summaries by just training your AI to give you whatever you want. So if you want to get a block inside of your summary of user feedback or open questions, or my favorite is engagement, to see who is like digging the most in the conversation, who is like speaking the most from your team by percentage. I like it the most. But we're going to open it up to a bunch of different ideas that we want to get from the community, and then to basically use it as templates that you can download and install in timeOS to get just like more customized summaries for your needs, for different needs. And very soon, we're going to give you the ability to do it per meeting and even per day and week, which is something that I kind of very excited about. Two more features that we recently launched, the auto-organize in Google Drive. So now timeOS can organize notes for you in Google Drive. Just, it's a plug and play integration. You set it up with one click, and anytime you have a new summary in timeOS, new AI note, it will be integrated in a selected folder of your choice, with the timestamp, with the title of the event and the note itself. Everything is kind of organized so you can share it quickly with your team. Invisible AI is also getting some popularity. This is, for me, it's an amazing feature in Google Meet. The ability to summarize a meeting, getting the full transcription without recording the meeting, without anyone to notice. So think about it as a stealth mode in Chrome, but for AI notes. So we added a button in Google Meet, which is in the UI. You click on it, and you are getting the summary after the meeting. Very simple. It works in any language, and you can set up the language directly from the button. And also the quality is really good as well. Like the quality that you got used to, amazing quality of our summaries. So this one is also a new feature. If you haven't tried it out, this it's pretty awesome. And one last thing is the roadmap. So now we're about to launch the custom AI notes and the AI blocks, and to open it up to our community so everyone can create their own AI blocks and connect it to their summaries. Invisible AI, of course, that we launched very recently. Soon, you have the ability to share your meeting spaces, including the AI assistants. So everyone that has the link can ask anything about the meeting, which is something that a lot of folks requested. We're going to have more team features and a team plan, so you can bring your team along very easily. You can do it now by reaching us, our support, but we want to give more team delight. And perspectives, which is the ability to not only summarize your meetings, but also summarize your days and your weeks and any time frame that you think will be valuable to get automated summaries from. So the possibilities here are enormous, and we can't wait to see how will you use it. The combination between custom AI and perspectives, time perspectives. Later on, early next year, we're going to develop our Mac app in our native application, allowing you to record pretty much everything that you want. The mobile application and the mobile interface allowing you to record on the go, which we see our WhatsApp got a lot of popularity, the WhatsApp bot, and we want to double down on it. And of course, the Outlook integration, which is our top requested feature. But first of all, we want to have the most delight for our Google folks, and then we're going to move to Outlook. And that's about it from the roadmap. I'm excited. Tell me what do you like in the chat. Tell me if you're excited, and like if we need to prioritize something more than anything you see here. And now it's your stage, team. And kind of the first question that that I had in mind. Let's disconnect from the presentation. The first question that will kick us off is, tell us a bit about how do you use timeOS now? What's your favorite part of timeOS, and how do you use it as part of your productivity workflow?
Yeah, sure. I use it a lot. So I'm a Notion consultant, and that means I have, I don't know, like somewhere between 10 and 20 clients on the go at any one time, usually. And so it's a lot of meetings, it's a lot of in-person, a lot like this. And I think one of the things that's really important to me is to be able to be present in meetings with people, really listen, respond to their questions, think about what's happening in the meeting rather than kind of furiously trying to take notes and keep track of what's going on. So prior to timeOS, I was recording all my meetings and then watching them back. So I've got an office at home and I got little kids, and my kids would always joke about the chipmunks in dad's office because I would be playing meetings back at sort of double speed to try and work out what was said. And timeOS has kind of taken that away. So yeah, I was really looking for something before I stumbled across timeOS, and already playing with AI and recording things and trying to myself manually stick it back through, and it wasn't good. So yeah, so now timeOS jumps into all my meetings and yeah, obviously records them and whatever, and I get the um yeah, the information back, and then I have it pretty heavily integrated into my Notion workspace. Involved with like all my client records, and
Yeah.
it builds the picture of what's going on. Yeah.
Why do you find the integration part so important? Because there are a bunch of tools that, you can probably manage your meeting knowledge inside them. Also in timeOS, you have the meeting spaces and you can use the AI assistant. But why do you find the integration part so important that everything will be managed under one place and not spread it around?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have a lot of tools. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of inputs coming in. There's a lot of places that I'm meant to kind of go and check. And so from a productivity point of view, not having to go somewhere else to be able to check up about the meetings is almost like the best feature. Apart from obviously getting the recording itself, but it means that wherever I am actually working, I can kind of get access to that information. And like I have the obviously have the meeting with someone, and then I don't know what your experience is like, but mine is like you're on a call with someone for an hour or 90 minutes or 2 hours. By the end of the call, you're exhausted, and you need a break from that kind of engagement. But at that same time that you should probably take 5 minutes to write the things down, to sort of follow up that initial follow up. And so, maybe you do a little bit of that, but you don't ever do it properly. And then, you go back to do the work, and then you think, oh, what did they say about this? Or, like what was the outcome on that? Or even worst case scenario, you've forgotten to follow up something and you're in your next meeting with the client. To have that information right there where I'm already working makes all the difference. It's right at my fingertips. It really changes the experience for me.
Great. So I think people love to see like your Notion setup because I know that you took a lot of time to think about it in terms of methodology of how to really set up a like a Notion workspace or sort of like a second
Yeah.
brain that
Yeah.
will basically serve your needs and your goals. And I would
Mm,
love to get an inspiration from it. Um, there are two ways currently to sync with Notion and timeOS. So there is like the plug and play way, which is the most easy way.
mm,
You connect to our template in Notion, and then everything's kind of synced to our template, and you have like the dynamic views, which is kind of the way that we envision how people will manage their meetings inside of one hub. But there's some different. We understand there are some different preferences, and people might want to put their meetings inside of a bigger system, productivity system, right? So because meetings are like meetings contains task, you need to process them. Maybe you run a GTD process, uh, like
yeah.
getting things done. David Allen methodology
Mm,
and the 5 steps. Maybe you run this process on your meetings as well. So meetings can be also items, right? Like tasks that you need to process and follow up. And so
mm,
I'm very curious to see like your setup and what is like behind it, the different aspects of
yeah.
and the goals of setting up the way you set up your Notion
Yeah.
life's like wiki.
Yeah. Sure thing. Sure thing. Just trying to share. How's that going? Is that working?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I guess without going like too far into the weeds on my personal productivity setup, I have Notion workspace setup that manages projects and tasks, meetings. I collect, email information, resources, all of that sort of stuff. And I do use the GTD inbox kind of methodology. This says that basically we're getting inputs constantly, and if you don't do something with them, then they kind of hang around and take up mental space. And so you need to find a way to store them in a system that you trust, that you know that you're going to go back and have a look at, so that you can leave it alone. So if you mention something in the middle of the meeting, I can just drop it in the inbox and forget about it. That's the first key piece. And the second is that you go and you do something with that, right? It doesn't just end up being an enormous list, but it actually gets processed and put where it's meant to. And so my personal notion, I mean, I spend my days helping people build custom digital operating systems for their businesses. And so it looks different for everybody. But for me, a key part of it is, having an inbox where things land, and then I put them where they're meant to go. So this is like the dashboard for me. And this is the sort of space that I live out of in my Notion. But behind this is a whole series of databases. And a key one is just this inboxes. So the Notion integration from timeOS drops the meetings directly in here. I do actually have the other one that you were just talking about, the magical time. Well, it was originally magical, and I think this is probably a really early version of your template, but it's
Yeah.
got like all my meetings ever in it.
Hmm.
So I sync it to both places. But I think the other one
Fantastic.
is just kind of more historical. So things land in here, and you can see I've customized exactly what I get. And so for me, I have this meetings database that you can see a view of over here, because my day is kind of driven by meetings and these kind of key priority tasks. And so this is a meeting I had last night. At the moment, it just has my standard template in it and doesn't have much content. And you can see it's just got a space for me to prepare an agenda, a spot for the notes to live, and then it's integrated with my task system so that if there are tasks that I'm processing, I can put them straight in. So pretty much most of the time what happens is I will literally just grab this and drop it straight in here. And then it's kind of done. I'll often then go and just like roll it out, roll the content out like that. Um, and then I've got all of the content from the meeting.
Mm, I see.
And so for me, that's really useful. There's a client that I've worked with a lot that I thought I'll kind of demonstrate. So this is a client page, like a project, if you like. And you can see in here, it's got sort of the current tasks that are waiting to be done. It's connected in with the CRM piece. It's got my sort of special client engagement process that I use. But then it's got all of the meetings that I've ever had with this client. And for me, that syncs with Google Calendar. So the client literally books into using my, links to book into my Google Calendar. It syncs down. So it's already got that kind of information. I can prepare an agenda if I want to, or share it with the client sometimes, all that sort of stuff. And then I have the meeting, and the timeOS summary comes in, and I drop it in here, and I've got access to it directly.
That's great. And can you share a bit about how do you process action items and tasks as part of this operating system?
Yeah. So, um, I, yeah, like I said before, there's a sort of a view of tasks that's sitting inside the meetings. So when I do look back through these notes or take, process, often my sort of shorthand these days is I trust the timeOS action items pretty strongly. If anything, it pulls out more things than I would put down. And so I'll use this to then work out, oh, this is something I need to do, and sometimes I'll pick it up and grab it and drop it in here. Other times I'll kind of rewrite it into my task system, but that will then kind of land it in that world for me. Um, yeah, so that's been a key kind of process, but I generally find I'm not too task driven. I'm sort of generally more kind of project oriented, and so I have this kind of view of, if we go back to this, I have this view of like all my sort of current client jobs, for instance, showing kind of where they're all at and what needs to happen. And particularly, well, and what's very relevant from this kind of meetings point of view is like, here are all these kind of client jobs, and I can see this view that shows like all my recent meetings and the summaries of all the meetings. So when I'm doing like, a classic weekly review or something like that, I'll go to that view and it'll show me all the meetings that I've had for the week, and that will allow me to capture any actions that I might have missed, or, kind of get that top-down view over the workspace.
Amazing. I think one of the challenges that I had with Notion, especially if you want to capture thoughts, random thoughts, or physical meetings, in-person meetings, is that
Mm.
it almost feels like it's slowing you down. Like it just um let's say you're in a meeting, or you got to your doctor, right? Or you're
Mm.
walking in the street. You need to open your phone, you need to click on Notion, and then there is like this buffer which kind of
Yeah.
loads the page, and then you need to find this button of like new note and put it in the right place, and then you start writing down manually, and like until you get to the page, you already forgot like what you had in mind. And I think when we're talking about capturing stuff very easily, like we have a father in the day, we have a water cooler conversation with a person in our office, we have a doctor appointment, we want to capture everything the doctor says because we don't want to forget anything. I think it's really
Mm.
challenging, like when you're not in front of a computer and on a VC like Zoom or Google Meet. um,
Yeah.
how did you tackle this challenge? What did you find in timeOS that kind of helped you unblock thought capture?
Yeah. Um, Having this inbox kind of idea where something is going to land, doesn't matter where it comes from, anything can get pushed to it, is has been the key for me. And so with timeOS, what I've been able to do, it's really, especially since the WhatsApp integration was created, I've found myself, I don't know, go for a walk with my dog or something and be listening to a book, and then have this, oh, like I need to, I want to do this follow up, or I want to kind of summarize, those ideas. Now with the WhatsApp integration, I'll just sort of start recording in the timeOS chat, in WhatsApp, and talk for 30 seconds or a minute or however long. And then I'll know that that information is going to land in this inbox here. Like, because everything goes there, and because my system is that this must get processed, um, I have this way of capturing those things. And little notes, like Notion's probably got a bit better since your frustrations in terms of being able to capture written text quickly. And I also use this to sort of share things out of other apps so that they land in Notion. You can see best shows
Mhm.
of 2023 was me scrolling TikTok last night before going to bed, and this guy's video had something in it. But what it what I would always kind of struggle to do is I'd make a voice memo somewhere else, or I'd record a conversation with someone, and it'd be in some other app somewhere else.
Yeah,
Now the integration just drops it straight into this point in my system, and I know it's going to get processed. It's not going to get lost. There's actually a good example here. This shoulder rehab. I went to my physio the other day and I said to him, "Hey, can I just record this?" And so I started the WhatsApp recording, and it recorded my physiotherapy session. And now I've got a kind of recording of it and a transcript of it, but more importantly, I've got this summary, and I've got the link in here to, that takes me straight into the dashboard page where I can ask specific questions. And so I was playing with
mm,
this yesterday, like, what were the names
amazing.
of the muscles that were problematic? And it goes and actually gives me an explanation. I asked it,
Wow.
what were the exercises that you wanted to be done? And so it's not just that the information ends up in Notion, but that like I can control my workflow, my processes, my habits,
Yeah.
uh, drive it out of my system, and have all this kind of, I mean, that's a click away. It's pretty great.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's the thing about unblocking thought capturing, because you cannot, i- if you are in a creative mindset, you have a thought and you want to capture it, or you're in like you listen to your doctor, you want to be engaged in the moment. You don't want to write, you know, notes down, or to
Exactly.
have to think about if you maybe forgot something. So to find a seamless system that, you know,
Mm.
it doesn't matter what, but something you like one click, in one click you can capture your voice, which is the easiest way probably to capture thoughts or random conversations, and then to
Mm.
trust that this thing will arrive or being transformed into a structured note that is as part of your system, then you can
Yeah.
meet and process in a very clear process that you have, like it's in your inbox, so you know and you trust that you will process it to other buckets, and you will get it done, which I think it's the key. And yeah, it's very inspiring to see your system with the new WhatsApp bot. I'm not aware if you know the people, like if the members here even know about the new bot, but we are using it a lot. Like I'm using it with AirPods. I'm just telling
Yeah.
Siri, "Hey Siri, can you record this memo?" And then I send it to timeOS through a WhatsApp bot, and having it like the ability to record it inside the bot is also very convenient if you're running some in-person meetings. And we actually think
Mm.
about how we can improve the experience and take it beyond WhatsApp to other kind of on-the-go mobile experiences. Because we were inspired, you know, by you know people like you, Tim, and other members that kind of told us that this is very meaningful.
Yeah, that quick capture when you have a thought, to have almost no resistance between the moment the thought happens and the ability to get it down. Like we've all had that experience where you're thinking about it and you feel like you've got this genius idea, right? You have this moment, you're like, oh, I've captured it. And then the resistance to get to the point of writing it down, something is often lost in that moment. So
Yeah.
yeah, being able to almost instantly record it in a way that you can trust has fundamentally changed kind of how I work. It really has. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it develops because obviously when you start doing something like that, you've got the WhatsApp bot and there's a little bit of like, okay, you make the technology work, but I think you're right. You've unlocked something that, yeah, that once I mean, things like when I saw in the roadmap before, like a mobile app, that stuff will make it so smooth that yeah, we'll wonder how we did it without it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also I'm excited about the new AI, custom AI blocks, where you can
Mm,
actually, as part of your random thoughts or thought capturing, you can like put like prompts that actually will serve this thought that you have during your day. Like think about
yeah.
AI prompt for like writing process. Like you have a thought, an idea for a blog, you end up your walk like your the walk with your dog, and you get to the office and you have a blog post reading just because of this initiate thought. So this is the exact thing that you can achieve now with the new custom AI blocks that we are preparing. And I haven't mentioned it, but you can also get it in your own language. So up until now, you got the summaries in English. Now you can select from the new wizard to get the default summary in the language that you spoke. So if you spoke with a Portuguese, you will get the summary in Portuguese if you selected um, to have the summaries in the same language of the meeting, which is also something that many members ask for. Um,
Yeah.
cool. So
I'm
yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say about the custom blocks. One of the things for me is, I have some processes that I run with clients that are like I have a scoping and design meeting, and the meeting follows a relatively similar pattern, and I'm looking for certain things in the notes. So for me to be able to, like, I have prompts that I use at the moment that I run over the top of the transcript, or I use in the AI bot. So to be able to program them in, and have these kind of custom prompts just sitting there, I think that will be huge. It will save a lot of time, and it will mean that, like, sort of immediately I can get this particular perspective on a meeting that I'm looking for. It'll be great.
Yeah, totally agree. And One thing that I want to show on your operating system um, is like understand why do you get like a peace of mind that you have everything in the same knowledge management system? Because usually like knowledge is being like is like knowledge in general is very fragmented, right? Like there's some knowledge in our Gmail inbox, like in our
Yeah.
email, some knowledge in like our to-do list, personal to-do list, and then we have Notion, and then we have Asana, and we have like a
Yeah.
linear some folks use. So it's really hard to track and prioritize if your knowledge and task and being staggered like everywhere on different
Mm.
buckets. So I think the number one rule of GPDs GTD is to put everything under one bucket. Now I want to understand what is the main benefit, not from I understand the peace of mind thing, like everything is like under one place, so I can find it very easily. But with AI, there is like bunch of new possibilities that you can benefit if your knowledge is under one roof, right? And and there's some new features that Notion introduced that we introduced, but um, I want inside of Notion, like show us what you can do. The fact that all of your meeting knowledge and calendar data are being synced to your knowledge management system, your operating system in Notion, what you can actually
Yeah.
do with it.
Yeah. So for some things are like very new, like the Q&A feature, for instance, in Notion, and I think we'll get to that. But there's even sort of steps before that, more manual, well, not manual, but I guess less AI based ones that are kind of about the system. Because you're absolutely right. I work with lots of people in their kind of productivity systems, and one of the biggest blockers is having to switch contexts, having to switch apps, and knowing that, oh yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff in email, or there's conversations in Slack. And so, and we've talked about this inbox thing heaps, but for me, a lot of the time I will push a Slack message and it will land in this inbox. I'll push an email and it will land in here in the email inbox inside of Notion, so that all the data is in the one place. And so with meetings, if we just go back to my friend Simon here, there's a few things that I'm doing. You can see here that I'm using a formula to bring a summary of this is actually, it's a bit meta. It's a summary of a summary. So in the meetings database, I'm using Notion's AI, a database summary tool. So this just automatically generates a summary of whatever's on the page here. Um, Now it's a touch limited because Notion's AI doesn't yet draw the information that's stored in the related databases. So this
Mm.
content looks like it's on the page here, but it's not really, but they'll get there with that, I'm sure. But because I've got the full timeOS notes here, then I can get this like a few sentence summary in every meeting. And then what I'm doing at the project level is I'm actually just rolling up the last meeting.
Mm.
So,
So
so
you
it's
have
really helpful for me.
contests for the meeting that you're at, so you can pull it very quickly in the meeting and see what you discussed with the client on your last meeting.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So anytime I open up a client page, just for my process, this wouldn't be right for everyone, but for my process, the last meeting is often the defining thing in that project. And you can see I've also got this little last engagement bit that I use. So that's really helpful. And the other piece that I use is when you're actually in one of the meetings, you can see the previous meetings and you can kind of jump straight into them. So it would be more helpful if I named my meeting something useful, but to be able to quickly access the other meeting information can be really useful, because there's a huge amount of data sitting in there in those meetings. And I build lots of workspaces where people want to track meetings. But what's fascinating to me is how often we think, yeah, we want to track this information, we'll use it, it'll be really important. And then when I work with clients to help set things up and then review them, and then 6 months later, we kind of tune them up and change them. And when we go back, a lot of the time, the meeting databases are empty, or they've got, sort of 3 checkboxes in them. And it'll be like a date and a title, and there'll be an agenda, but there won't be there won't be much in terms of notes because people get into the meeting itself, they don't take proper notes, and then they go off and they do their work sort of somewhere else. And so the meeting records are not very substantial and not very useful. Whereas once you start using a tool like timeOS, the meeting becomes very rich context. And so to be able to search this and access this quickly, yeah, it's huge.
So there is a question from the audience from Michael. Like why Notion's AI summary cannot be replaced by timeOS short summary?
It could be, yeah. I just leveraged the fact that Notion has a database property that reads the context on the page and automatically generates a summary. So it does it
Yeah,
itself without me doing anything. So, and I guess that's part of like taking these tools and working them into a sort of sustainable system is uh, if it was seamless for me to have the short summary synced into this database, I'd do it that way. But given that timeOS has done all the heavy lifting of getting the transcript and summarizing it, to a
yeah.
useful place like this, then the Notion database does this piece automatically. Um, the
Great.
other
We
bit,
also have like a similar feature. It's called brief me on. So you get like a AI notification, AI reminder. And basically the idea is that anytime we have an information or something about the participants that you're about to meet, their
mm,
LinkedIn, their website, and the previous meeting, so a summary of the previous meeting. With one click, we can generate it in the AI chat that you can access on any tab. So I think this is something that we see more and more people use before their meetings. But of course, like having it on a database, uh, you can see it in like in a more systematic way in Ocean. Another question that we have from the audience is like, which comes okay, will be good to have both short and long summaries available and not have only replacing the other. Okay, so yeah, I
just
think
following up.
yeah. So the question is like
Right.
if it's good to have the like both short and
Yeah.
long summaries available.
Yeah. And that
And I
goes
think you
to
mentioned
something
it
that
to
you,
me that you want also the transcriptions and the recording as part of your database, which is something we need to be
mm,
better at.
yeah. So I would say 95% of the time, the timeOS summary is enough. But like Michael's right, having a short summary like this that's very digestible can be really helpful for some immediate context. Like, if you've got 1 minute before a meeting, you can read this and understand what it means and be reminded, but you can't read all of this. It's too long. So having short and long is helpful. And then sometimes a client will give me some very specific information that I need. I don't need a summary of, I need the actual text. Or sometimes there'll be a screen recording, someone's screen sharing like I am, and we will be talking to what's on the screen, and so I'll need to see it. So I really appreciate at the moment that I can download the transcript, like I can copy the transcript out of the timeOS dashboard and I can get access to the video. But if they were synced in here, even better. And I think
Yeah.
too, because AI is built into the Notion workspace, that will allow me to build, you know, more parts of my system that relate back to. So I might have custom prompts that I run over certain kinds of meetings that generate content inside Notion for me automatically, for instance. Um, yeah.
And another thing that we think about in terms of integrations that just discussed with our integration team today. And another idea that came from our members is the ability to send information from timeOS, but not so imagine you can send to Notion information to a property. Let's say you have a property which is like a short summary, right? So you can send in the
Yeah.
information with AI. So it's sort of like similar to AI fields in Notion, but there's a specific field, to your database, but already like being analyzed by our AI, by one of our AI blocks. So, for example, if you have a field of open questions from the meeting, you can have a field in Notion, open questions, and send
Mm.
this block specifically to a field in Notion. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, it will kind of save the workaround in Notion to summarize or some money, because I know that Notion AI costs like $10 a month. Correct me if I'm wrong. In addition
Yeah,
to
yeah,
what you pay to Notion. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and for the longest time, I didn't use Notion's AI in my main workspace because I was paying for ChatGPT and I was paying for timeOS and I was like, I actually don't need it. I think the thing that probably has will change that for me is the Q&A, the Notion Q&A feature,
Yeah,
where I
and
can quickly all.
can we try something? I know that it's a new feature and you probably haven't tried
Mm.
it a lot. As I didn't as well, but maybe we can
Yeah,
run like a query, a quick query to see if Notion can find something about our meeting. So for those of you
yeah,
who don't know, like Notion Q&A allows you to to run AI queries and questions like in ChatGPT. Very similar to AI assistant, but they can do it to the entire workspace. So the question that now team is asking is like, what were the outcomes from my last meeting with Simon? And Notion will try to find it and find the right references.
yeah. So I haven't got that like it's still on a waiting list for the Q&A thing. And so my AI and my regular workspace was not set up. And I was like, oh, I'd like to show people. So it's in another workspace I've got. And you can see here, I mean, I have only asked what were the outcomes from my last meeting with this person. And all the Notion workspace has is the magical template database with all the meeting summaries synced to it. So it has actually worked out which the last meeting was based on the dates of, the properties in the thing, right client, and then it's given me the outcomes from that meeting, which is pretty impressive to be able to, you know, effectively not have to use the system that I've built to be able to bypass that by just asking it directly. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like there are some questions that you can probably ask that can give you like a combination between different meetings, like what what did I discuss this week on pricing or on like a specific topic, and you want to get all the insight on a specific topic from the past week. So I feel
Yeah.
like these kind of features can aggregate all the knowledge from the meetings that you participated or didn't. If you sent your AI with timeOS, you can get all this
Mm,
knowledge into one precise answer. And don't want to spoiler, but we're going to offer this capability inside of timeOS, when you can not only ask on the meeting, but you will have the AI chat available on the calendar level, and you can ask pretty
yeah.
much everything you want. So this one will be available soon. But yeah, now you
Mm,
can definitely leverage the Q&A feature in Ocean.
yeah. I think it goes to how how people's personal productivity systems work. One of the conversations you and I have had is like that timeOS isn't requiring people to use it as the hub for all of their productivity. And I feel like it's one of the traps that a lot of amazing tools fall into, is that no, if you want to use our cool stuff, you have to do it in the way that we set for you, right? And we're
Yeah.
all individuals and we run different kinds of businesses and we need to work in different ways. And so the fact that I'm obviously heavily invested in Notion and I have a good understanding, and so I've built this system that matches me perfectly. I need the benefit that timeOS brings. I need to be able to transfer that into Notion for my system to run. Otherwise, it'll kind of break my system if I'm constantly having to come out for meeting content. But for lots of other people, they actually don't have one of those and they want to do it in timeOS. And so I think that flexibility is actually really, really important for the tool. And then of course other people are using Asana, or they
Yeah.
run that stuff out of Slack, or however you do it. Yeah, the fact that timeOS can be dynamic enough and sort of responsive enough to allow people to do that, I actually think that's a really important element.
This is such an important point, because I feel that not when you implement a tool, if you work on a team, if you're working with teammates and you started to implement a tool like Notion or Asana or other tools, there will be some point that you want to bring this tool to your team, right? And I feel that right now teams, like teammates, they need to constantly switch between different tools. The average actually is amazing, like the average knowledge worker needs to switch between 8 to 9 different tools to do his job. And I think the number is probably like higher now, in 2020, the end of 2023. So um, we spend around 2 hours a day just because of context switching, just to switch between different environments. So I feel that if you want to implement the tool in your team, think about the implementation costs, think about the education and what it will cost to actually implement this tool and the context switching of it. So I feel that the new AI revolution is like, for me, it's more of a router and a layer of work rather
Yep.
than a hub, because there are a bunch of amazing hubs out there. Like Notion is probably my favorite, but you have tools like monday.com and Asana and other, like, of course, G Suite, but a bunch of different hubs. And I feel that if you want to implement AI, it should be as seamless and ubiquitous as possible, and not
Mm.
something that will require a lot of attention and overload from you and your team. And think about your team in this case, because if you're a productivity enthusiast, and of course you are if you are here, not everyone likes to implement tools and get obsessed with or this rabbit hole to how to use it. And I think you should pick a tool that is the most intuitive for you and your team. Yeah, just to echo what you said. Let's take some questions from the folks here. So if anyone has like a question, you can raise your hand. This is a weird thing in Zoom webinars. You need to raise your hand, and then we can give you like permission to speak or something. It's an awkward setup, I know, but also feel free to just write it down in the chat. Any question that you have. I raised my hand. Okay, so we'll give so time for folks kind of to ask questions there in the chat or the Q&A. There is a Q&A section in Zoom, so it's kind of the first time that I'm um, kind of running webinars through the new Zoom webinar feature. Don't like it, but well, we can deal with it. Okay, so Michael has a question about or a statement. So Michael wrote, totally agree. I was thinking that you need to remove UX friction. It needs to be an intuitive process to record and link conversations to different systems. Yeah, I totally agree with this, Michael. Anyone else has like a question about Notion, how to set it up? Do you want to maybe see how to set it up from timeOS? Any question that you have, that's the time to ask. And
It's got this point in there about it would be great to be able to segregate and auto categorize personal and professional items. Um, I think that's interesting. Like it sort of goes to your system a little bit. I found, and maybe I don't have good enough boundaries in my life, but like I found that everything gets muddled together regardless of whether I want it to or not. I get work text messages and personal text messages in the same spot. And so I gave up trying to segregate them and then kind of built systems for them and recognized they all land in the same place. I'm using the same app to record my physio appointment as I am with a client. It's what happens with them after that initial kind of landing point that changes things. So for me, I kind of worked out, oh, build the system in that step afterwards. But yeah, the auto categorizing, like having AI be able to work that out for you and give you a hint about which direction to go, is super, super powerful.
We actually have the auto categorizing in our smart template in Notion. We auto categorize meetings into different buckets like personal, one-on-one, team, internal meeting. So this is like an exclusive feature that we have inside of our template in Notion, that not a lot of people know. But yeah, it kind of helps us to have this dynamic view of different buckets. Like if you want to see your meetings in different buckets and like all your one-on-one meetings, all your team meetings in one place. So it kind of helps to organize it in that way in Notion. Um, cool. Actually, the personal and professional thing is an interesting topic. And I think one question that I have to you, Tim, do you find um like the relationship between your calendar, right, which is the backbone of timeOS, but the calendar and all the meetings there, and um, do you find it challenging to basically manage your personal and professional events together in one account or in separated accounts? What did you find that is like most helpful in like calendar management?
Yeah. Well, I have 4 children. So my personal life is cluttered with school runs and kids' birthday parties. So I have a pretty extensive calendaring system. So yeah, I have a personal calendar, I have a work calendar, but I also have like my wife's calendar and we have a kid's calendar. And so they all come together in a calendaring app, in like using Google Calendar. And then I guess I drive a lot of things out of there. So yeah, my use of calendaring is pretty extensive. I actually time block. That's how I do my weekly review and I look forward and I think, okay, what projects am I going to work on? So I block the time out in the calendar, and then uh people book me with booking links directly into the calendar. So it's all driven out of there. And yeah, I have things set up so that you can't book a time where it's either my personal or my professional calendar has a spot in it. If I'm at my kids' swimming lessons, I can't see you.
So how do you like what kind of tools do you use to time block currently? Do you have a like
Tools.
so you use Notion to see a list of tasks that you have and then you block it on your calendar?
Yep. Yeah. So I use Vimcal. I don't know if you've come across that one, but um it's and it gives me both the Calendly links and the calendaring app, and allows me to work with calendars across different tools like Outlook or Google Calendar. And so my process is once a week, usually Sunday night or Monday morning, I will look at the priorities based out of the Notion kind of system, and then plan the week, block the time out, literally put sections into the calendar. And I actually do that manually. I played with automating it, and I realized that there's a very important mental process that I need to go through where I actually think deeply about what my work is and what I should prioritize and make decisions about that. And that then unlocked the sort of mental space for the week. I wasn't second guessing those decisions. I'd sat down and made them. And then that was it from then on. I'm like, that's what my week looks like. Now, of course, priorities come up and kids get sick and normal life happens. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of divide my work world up into thinking about the work and doing the work. And so that time blocking process is actually about being really clear. I'm thinking about what I'm doing. I'm organizing it. I'm setting it up,
Yeah.
and then from then on, I can just trust that process and get on with it.
That's amazing. One tip that I have about around time blocking is that for me it was very meaningful to block decompress time, because sometimes you are back to back and your day can once you started your day, a lot of shit can happen. And having like a decompress, like planned decompress time when you just sit down for 20 minutes and just like processing things and
Mm.
thinking about stuff. it was really helpful. And if you have like a very busy day, just try to just block and invite yourself to decompress sessions, just to kind of get like relaxed. I do at least like 2 hours a day. And every
Mm,
week, and this is probably the most meaningful time block that I had, I have a gratitude. I call it like an appreciation block. The appreciation
mhm,
block is basically an hour a week in my calendar, scheduled in my calendar.
mhm.
Again, only I'm invited to this meeting. Which what I do in
Yeah,
this hour, I just think about all the people that helped me during the week, and I'm sending
yeah,
written notes. I actually write down in my iPad notes in like in a
yeah,
digital way, and then I send it through WhatsApp, which is like very awkward, but people appreciate that. So for example, like this person that helped me find this connection to one of our investors, or this person that I know like cleaned my house. So I just like send bunch of different appreciation notes to people that come to my mind. And the karma that you get out of it is amazing. Like think about it, you have just 1 hour a day just to appreciate people around you and like send them notes and being grateful they're a part of your life. This is one of the most
yeah.
meaningful thing that I did in my time system. And if you have like other
Mm,
kind of ideas, of course, I would love to hear from the audience. Jason actually gave a recommendation to use Akiflow to get calendars together. So if you have accounts, different accounts, for example, a Gmail account or Outlook, so you can merge them with Akiflow. And Jason also uses it for time blocking because it connects between different to-do applications, for example, Notion, and then you can drag and drop it to your calendar. This is idea that we had in mind for a long time, and it's probably going to happen with timeOS when we'll have these kind of features like merging between multiple accounts and calendars and getting extracting the action items and automatically blocking them inside of your calendar. This is kind of ideas as part of a long-term roadmap we'll get to it at some point, but definitely Akiflow, it's a good tool to check. Um,
mm.
and also, Michael, like put here in the chat some use cases as a designer persona and how he uses timeOS, which is also inspiring. Great. So let's wrap it up. We're on time. I want to respect your time, folks. And team, this was very inspiring to see your Notion setup, to see how you use timeOS with Notion, and how you use it with your clients, and just having everything under one list, the GTD way, which is the best way still after 2 decades. Uh, but also
I'm not
to
sure Dave's going
effortlessly
with things very,
with
it's
some
not very
yeah
pure. Yeah.
with some adjustments, yeah, with some
Yeah.
adjustments for for like I call it like the digital way of GTD, but basically
Yeah.
we also we discuss about thought capturing in an effortless way, and why it's so
Mm,
important to find a system that will work effortlessly with one click. So you use the WhatsApp bot. This is our new feature, and then you know that you can trust that you have a structured note in Notion, which is great. So under everything is like under one list. Um, Very inspiring. If you still have questions and you're another part of our Slack group, you can join our Slack group community. Team is there as well. So, if you want help to set up your Notion custom database or everything you want, just join our Slack group. I will send you also the link in a follow-up email together with the recording and everything that you need. And yeah, thank you for joining. It was a blast, team. Thank you so much for joining at 6 a.m.
no worries.
And
Yeah, we
have a
understand.
great have a great morning, and guys have a great
Yeah.
evening or whatever the hour. Bye everyone.